So money is usually the number one blocker for scaling a business or the number one reason that businesses fail. When you run out of money, you run out of runway, the doors are closed, and you run out of options. A lot of times you can have a great product launch that you've done everything right, but if you don't have the capital to order more inventory and get it back into Amazon on time, it can kill the listing and literally kill your business. So today, I'm happy to be interviewing Liz Beavers with Run Viably or Viably. The website is
Yeah,
runviably.com.
exactly.
And, and Viably helps sellers get the capital they need in order to keep their business going and even scale their business. So I'm super happy to be here, Liz. Before we talk about finances and everything else you got going on, I want to hear your story a little bit, how you got started with the company, and what kind of journey it's been, because I love entrepreneur stories.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I'm pumped to be chatting with you about all things under the sun that impact sellers and how money can improve their day to day. But yeah, I am Liz. I have been with the Viably team for quite some time, actually. Prior to Viably, many of us were a part of a different startup in a totally different space. We were with IT folks doing service management, so like help desk ticketing. Again, like totally polar opposite personas. We actually exited that business after a pretty long stint there in 2019. And then in about 2021, our CEO, Duran Gordon, tapped several of the founders and said, let's get this band back together. We had a good thing going. And we really were focused at that point in time, Brandon, on building the best digital banking solution. We wanted to have something where people really loved the bank that they were going to, and really focusing in on like small markets, small businesses. But with having expanded and kind of dipping our footprint in there, we saw that there was a huge opportunity specifically with e-commerce sellers. And that's kind of where Viably spun up from beginning with digital banking and then getting into working capital and funding. Now back to your question, because that's a part of the story, is being a part of the coveted band, which I'm so appreciative of. My role and tenure at Viably has been in product marketing and partnerships. So it's been really interesting for me at our previous life. I was working kind of in pre-sales and existing sales relationships and motions. So really getting to be with customers. And that's still something that I get to do a lot of today, helping not only in getting sellers and helping them understand where they have an opportunity and a fit with Viably, but also working on all the good marketing things and also partnerships. And that's my absolute favorite part, is like getting to know not only the sellers we're working with, but also all the trusted allies that they have in this ecosystem, because unlike our former life, there was a lot of competition, and there's still a lot of competition in e-commerce. I'm not saying there's not, but I also think that there's a really unique side to this industry because everybody wants to help each other grow. Like there's such an opportunity to learn from one another, to be better, to innovate. And so yeah, that's where I get to do a lot of the things. So I answered and talked for a really long time. So I'm going to hand things back to you, Brandon.
No, absolutely. So obviously you're very good at your job because you were able to help this company exit, the previous company and venture. And then to go into banking, one of the most regulated and difficult industries to break into, that says a lot about the founding team, the confidence that he has in the team to be able to go in and say, this mountain that I want to scale is achievable, or I can tackle that because of how good my team is. That's amazing. I want to learn more about what it is that you identified for banking for e-commerce that were the pain points, and then how you've been able to, approach them differently or solve them.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think when the team had initially begun things in our venture to be the best digital banking experience for small businesses, we saw that there were a lot of challenges in how they were receiving service and support from traditional banks. So that I think was just baseline. It's hard, even if you have a physical office, to have somebody in your pocket who knows what it is you're doing. So I think that that was one component. And also, we're in a digital age. I know literally everybody talks about the digital transformation, especially with what happened with COVID. But from a banking standpoint, I think those were two pretty resident things that stood out to us. Now, in terms of solving from the e-commerce standpoint, we saw a huge opportunity from our previous experience as a team in receiving funding and how challenging it can be to go out and receive working capital, get funded, get supported. And we knew in our research that for e-commerce sellers, that poses a whole different set of challenges because the way your business looks on paper doesn't necessarily align with how traditional banks are qualifying folks to get the additional support that they need to keep growing. So that's where I think we saw in this space that you should have a true union between who your banking partner is and who your lending partner is, and put them together for sellers to have the greatest success and the best backing so that they can continue to grow. So that's kind of what we had honed in on that perspective, and knowing that you need working capital at any given moment to really strike when the opportunity is hot. So yeah, I think that kind of sums up a lot of what our thinking was and where we saw just a great chance to really make our mark and improve the lives of sellers so that they can keep reaching the next rung and milestone.
Yeah. And so there's many, like, for the listeners out there, I'm sure a lot of them are in the Amazon space, and so they might be familiar. But if you're not, there are many different ways to sell on Amazon. There's many different types of e-commerce, right? There's D2C, which is driving traffic to your own website. There are different e-commerce platforms out there now with TikTok and Walmart, and then there are resellers and brand owners, right? So resellers are broken down into arbitrage guys who are looking for any given opportunity, liquidators who are looking for giant chunks of inventory at a discount that they'll sell over time, wholesalers who are building relationships with suppliers and hopefully getting a steady SKU that they can just keep replenishing. And then there's online arbitrage, people that are flipping, but also, they're finding the opportunities on websites and just ordering it online and then sending it in. And then there's private label, which is what we do and what we teach, which is creating your own brand, your own product, finding opportunities to do a better job with SEO, with product design, with branding, and then beating your competition by ranking it better, running ads to it, and getting that organic traffic on Amazon to make a profit. So what types of solutions do you have on the reselling side versus the private label side? And where do most of your sellers and most of your customers, reside?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked, Brandon. And I think that's such a comprehensive breakout because I think a lot of times as folks have their interest piqued in diving into e-commerce and specifically Amazon, there's so many different paths that they can take. Now, for us, in terms of supporting from a financial standpoint, our business banking solution is available for sellers, but from a funding standpoint, it's very unique. So it's all revenue-based financing. So we are looking at the sales and health and performance of a seller's business. And with that, we provide short-term working capital solutions so that they're able to grow effectively. Now, the way that we help serve sellers, just as you mentioned with the different selling types, we have one working capital product that is our Viably cash advance. And that's really helpful for sellers who are, I'd say, getting started. So they've been doing it for 6 months to about a year. That's really beneficial for your retail arbitrage, your online arbitrage folks. The reason I say that is because that cash advance gives sellers 80% of their previous day sales deposited daily. So with retail arbitrage and online arbitrage, you're able to go out, find the product, easily make that purchase, and keep churning that over. So that's a really wonderful solution for sellers. On the other hand, we also have from our funding portfolio, we have Viably Growth Capital. And consider that to be your lump sum so that you can make a larger investment, be that an inventory restock, product launch. Maybe you're looking to up your PPC spend, maybe even take on like a virtual assistant. So that's a really wonderful use there. And traditionally, we see that being helpful to sellers who are private label folks, or who, again, have been maybe doing RA for quite some time. They see this more than just a side hustle and they're ready to make a larger investment. With that, typically that funding can run anywhere from 3 to 6 months. It's not going to be like a line of credit. It's not going to run for a year. It's that short-term financing. And the other thing that's really unique as well for what Viably offers from a funding standpoint, not only is it that short-term revenue based, but it's with a flat upfront fee. So again, you don't have to think about APR or anything along those lines. We're very transparent in what that looks like. And in terms of repaying it, it's going to align with your Amazon payout schedule. So we try and keep things simple so that it's approachable, because I know that working capital and taking on debt can be something that's a brand new to sellers if they've maybe been financing with a credit card previously, or again, just taking on debt, I know can be daunting. So we try and keep things very simple, very transparent. And then their funding goes into their Viably business account. So they get that within 24 hours and it's highly usable. Yeah, that's the long and short of what we have.
Yeah. And so I see different like, fee-based loans that have become super popular over the last few years. Sometimes the APR, if you do work it out, can be a little high, in the 20s and up. And so I just want for listeners to know that, this isn't going to be like if you've been in business for 2 years, you go to a traditional bank and you get a line of credit with, Wells Fargo or with Chase, well, interest rates are pretty high right now, but like, if you're in the 7, 9, 10% range there, that's going to be like probably a primary source. But this is for sellers who maybe have already explored that, maybe haven't been in business for 2 years to have two tax returns, don't have that opportunity, and you still want to put fuel on the fire and keep growing because you've got a good product. The way that I try to use capital responsibly, and I've borrowed millions of dollars over the years. We've been selling since 2015. We started with reselling. We moved into private label in 2016. And so when we started with private label, we did over $1 million in our first year, but we didn't really make any money, right? Like we had some products that did all right, some products that failed. And, we really had to still figure out what we were doing with regards to keyword research and product analysis and stuff. What I recommend, though, is over the years, we've borrowed, think about with my biggest brand being toys, every single year during the summer, I have to start placing very large orders for Q4. And so I've got to fund millions of dollars in orders that I've got to float with, that's a big constraint on capital or a big strain on capital. So I've, oftentimes almost every year, I look to my factories for some kind of financing, or I borrow from Amazon, and now Amazon's ending their lending program, or now I'm with the bank and I can get from the bank, but it might not be enough. So, I've got other lenders, and Viably is one of those potential solutions for me now that we've got this relationship. So I'm happy to explore it. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I've got a pretty consistent business with a lot of SKUs. I've got 400 SKUs that I've got selling, and I kind of know what they're going to do, and they're pretty predictable, and I've gotten pretty good at marketing and my business. But even if you're just starting out and you've got a couple products that are doing well, they're growing, borrow for the inventory for those. Don't borrow and overextend yourself to launch new products, because that's going to be far more risky. The success rate of a new product where you reorder it and you make money on it is probably going to be somewhere in the range of 50 to 70% of the time. So you don't want that failure rate to impact your ability to pay this back and jeopardize the health of your business overall. Try to get a few products going, borrow some cash to keep those keep those in stock, and then use the profits from those and the cash generated from those to keep growing. Is probably the most responsible way to do it, and to make sure you're not overextending yourself.
Exactly.
And then
And I
yeah,
was going to say too, Brandon, I'm really glad that you talked about being fiscally responsible in making these decisions. And I think
right.
that's somewhere too where we certainly try and help educate sellers, because You get into starting a business again, you have that entrepreneurial mindset and that hunger and drive to want to learn more. But it's also back to, and I might be taking your thunder a little bit, but just knowing your cash flow as well. So that's where we try and help understand by creating a better picture and knowing how your business is performing, what your sales history looks like, just as you mentioned, so that you don't overextend yourself. We want you to be able to take on capital so that you can be successful and pay us back. So we are going to look at your cash flow, but we also want to help you better understand how is money moving through your business so that you can make those decisions, not overextend yourself, and actually keep growing by taking on good debt.
That's amazing. And I know for Camp Ecom, when you guys, sponsored and showed up, there was a really great response. What I wanted to do is see for listeners now and for Seller Systems members, what kind of special can you offer them? Is there a discount on the payback period, or maybe a lower fee that you can attach for them for anyone listening? And make sure it's the best on the market, because I have a very big group with 3 billion in sales combined. So this has got to be the best of the best offer.
And there are other people to talk to at Viably to get the best offer. But what I can start by offering up is, number one, we can certainly get folks at Seller Systems a personalized session with a member of our team so that we can walk through what does your business look like, what could you potentially be eligible for, and also walk you through a customization of your offer. So by looking at your data, again, it's very challenging to say anything off the top of my head, but by looking at your data, we're going to be able to get the best understanding for what our underwriters can provide. And from there, we can work closely to tailor the appropriate solution that's going to be aligned with your needs. So that's without giving away too much. But I can certainly
I
stand
did put
by.
you on the spot there. I did put
Yes.
you on the
I don't make those big decisions. But that's certainly where we can definitely go through, partner together for a custom session for coaching, review, and also talk through what you're eligible for, but also kind of get you in a position of thinking more proactively moving forward about better forecasting so you're not hitting those cash crunches and thinking ahead of time, just like you mentioned, Q4 preparations early on about where you should start assessing where it might be appropriate and when it might be appropriate to take on funding to help hit your goals.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we'll get that custom session, and then make sure you're letting them know that you're part of the group and that you're there for the special offer, and then we can go from there. So tell me, do you have any success stories, or I don't want anything anecdotal, but if you can give me something more specific around someone you met that you helped out recently.
Yeah, that's a great question. I talk to customers a lot. So there are so many incredible stories and partnerships that we've created. And I think one of the things that we really take to heart as an organization is we understand not only that the ecosystem of e-commerce sellers is really powerful, very community oriented, but we also know that it's important when sellers are being recommended to leverage a service that they are really looking for a trusted advisor, especially when it comes to their finances. So we really pride ourselves in partnering with sellers. And I say that before I talk about this story because I think we've made sure that for our working capital solutions and for our digital banking platform, that we really are a true person. It's not transactional. You're getting to talk to humans who are there to help you succeed. So with that, we have worked with, I'm trying to think of a recent story that I think would be really powerful. We had one seller actually who had been working like in the home and kitchen category. He'd found a gap in the market. He was really able to go through and capitalize, especially leading into the pandemic. Things were booming for him. But at the height of the pandemic, he, like so many others, had been struggling with supply shortages that really were due to a surge in prices. And with that, he was hit with shipments that were sitting in those shipping containers, just like everyone else. And that created a huge rift in his cash flow. That bled into subsequent years. And with that, he had a really difficult time in kind of maintaining his cash flow, being able to make additional investments in the products that he knows and knew were succeeding. but also in researching other potential product launches and advancing some of his marketing capabilities as well. So, with that, he had been looking for other services and opportunities. We were able to work closely with him, get an understanding of his needs, and fund his business so that he could really regain his footing on Amazon. We were able to work with him so that he could have better negotiating power. And ultimately, he said that with his addition in working capital, he was able to cut his costs by 40% by working directly with the factory. So that gave him better buying
Mm,
power, better negotiating
mm,
power with his suppliers. And
mm.
again, he was able to reassert his position in his category on Amazon with the addition working capital. Now,
Right.
I say that as a long winded story because I think so many folks who've been in this for some time have experienced some of these pitfalls just that are just a circumstance of the macroeconomics and what's happening
Absolutely.
environmentally. So I think that that's a real testament to the importance and the opportunity that working capital can serve for sellers in helping them if they've been in a bit of a crunch and help mitigate that hurdle so that they can keep moving forward in a position and kind of tackling those challenges head on.
Yeah, and I think that the danger of slowing down your sales because you're going to run out, a lot of people don't understand how SEO on Amazon works. And if your ranking is a combination of your performance, which includes your revenue. So your click-through rate, your conversion rate, and your revenue combined with your relevancy. Now, your relevancy is an SEO thing. It's how you write your listing. It's how you do your keyword research. That's where we're experts. That's why we launched Data Dive. But the revenue side is really important. If you take your foot off the gas because you're not running the ads that you need to run, because you're backing off and you want to slow sales down, your keyword ranks will go down, which means your organic traffic and sales will go down. And as a blend, your organic plus your paid sales is how you get your profitability to be at a higher margin. And you need that blend. And if you're not only will your traffic start to go down, your sales go down, so you do slow down your sales, but it becomes very difficult sometimes to climb like those search pages back up into a good organic rank or position. And so you are risking or jeopardizing the future of your business if you don't have enough inventory and you have to constantly battle with inventory issues. Now, a great point that you made, which is another thing, is that when you do place larger orders with your factories, you're ensuring that you don't have that issue, but it can also create a better relationship with the factory. So not only does it allow you to put your foot on the gas and push your SEO up and push your organic rank up and make sure you have enough inventory so you don't run into those issues, but if you have a better relationship with the factory, you can cut your costs. You can get exclusivity with the
Mm-hmm.
factory owner. You can also build a relationship with the factory owner so that they're sending you some initial new designs of products that they create. Because a lot of these factories will have engineers on staff, and you want to build up that relationship with them so that they're giving you the opportunity to sell that new design first, even. And all of these go into, building a viable business over time that can survive and thrive. And you can definitely help with that with the cap on the capital side, and that's very appreciated and needed, especially now that Amazon has decided that they're going to stop their lending program, which was a lifeline for a lot of people. Now, I have a lot of international students. Do you also lend for international businesses, Australia and Europe?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Brandon. So, right now, we are working with US based businesses, but we are actively working to support international. So, that's actually something that we're working on this year, and it's very, very current. It's a huge priority for us. So, I will be making sure that my ear is to the ground as soon as that's available. We have so many folks that we've worked with who are international sellers that we are so excited to be able to launch this for. But that also brings up a good point, too, in terms of tenure. We do have some elements of eligibility for those who are able to take on working capital with Viably. They have to at least have been selling for 6 months and have 6 months of sales history. And then with that, we do have a couple of other eligibility requirements for those two different funding products that I talked about, Brandon. So for that cash advance, they need to have at least 6,000 in monthly average sales. And for our Viably growth capital product, that lump sum, they need to have at least 10,000 in monthly average sales. But that's where I will say we do get sellers, both international, but also starting sellers who might not meet those thresholds, who come to us. And while it might not be a fit now, they've been able to retain their relationship with us. We continue to chat with them, and we've had a lot of folks who've grown into being able to take on funding at a later time. So we certainly are eager to continue to expand our support there.
Well, that's wonderful. I know that for most of my listeners, the cash advance or the it's almost like a factoring of your revenue in a way, right? Your accounts receivables from Amazon probably isn't the best solution for us, but hopefully those who qualify and soon with the international, they can explore the opportunities that you guys have to see if it's the right solution. I do like that you have the relationship side, that you help them understand the cash flow needs of their business better. I think that everyone should take advantage of that and have a call. It's important that you really understand how much cash you're going to be having going out and when, based on different cash cycles and product cycles. The more products you get, the more complicated it gets. Trust
Exactly.
me, I have over the 400 of them. And so different seasons, different types of products, it becomes a headache trying to figure it out and manage it. Luckily, I have a team of over 25, and a lot of them are, on the inventory management and finance side. Otherwise, I would need to be on the phone with you guys every day.
Yes. Yeah. And that's where, too, I will say as well, when you're going through the process, we ask that you're connecting your Amazon account, your marketplaces, and your existing business bank account. And that's so that we can create our understanding of what your cash flow looks like. But the other component of what Viably offers, Brandon, is our growth tool. And that's where we're actually able to prepare a visual cash flow statement for users so they can do exactly as you mentioned. They need to be able to see how money is moving through the business, where it's moving out, and help you be more proactive in your forecasting efforts so that you can assess when might be an opportune time to take on more working capital or be able to, again, strike kind of when the iron is hot for some of those growth plans that you might have.
I love the idea of a visual cash flow. I think it's super
Yeah.
important. And a lot of times you think you're doing well, and then all of a sudden you get into a small hole and you need a solution to fill it. And so definitely give the team over at Viably a call. How can they reach you? What's the best way for them to plug in and let them know that they're Seller Systems members for that extra great bonus that you're going to end up giving them?
Yes, absolutely. So you all can find us at runviably.com. And when you go through sign up, I can also be sure, Brandon, that we share with your listeners who are tuning in and a link as well so that they can go right there. But you can always find us available on chat at runviably.com as well. And if you mention that you heard this and that you're with Seller Systems as well, we'll make sure that you get the appropriate VIP treatment.
Awesome. Liz, thank you so much for joining me today. I know that there is a million things to talk about in the e-commerce space. Travel, we were just chatting about travel before we started recording. Where are you off to next? Where can people expect to see you in the world at the next conference?
Yeah,
Or next few conferences?
yeah, that's a great question. So the summer is literally hot, both from a temperature standpoint and from an event perspective. We are going to be found a lot on the East Coast in New York. We'll be heading, I want to say it's in August, to AMZ United and AMZ Innovate that are coming up from the summer months and into the fall. I'm sure there's going to be some other ones scattered in there. So definitely tune into our socials as we are very active in chatting about where you can find us next.
I recommend both of those events, and the first one, it was Unite or AMZ
AMZ
United.
United.
AMZ United is mostly for wholesalers and resellers, but I'm gonna be there to speak about SEO. So talking to wholesalers around taking control of the listings, making them better, to increase velocity, figuring out how to increase conversion rates, and start to take a wholesaler or a reseller and help them start to really understand SEO. So I'm excited about that. AMZ Innovate is run by a couple good friends of mine from MDS, Jared and Brandon. You can expect to be there shoulder to shoulder with hundreds and hundreds of 7 and 8 figure sellers when you go to AMZ Innovate. It is all, private label conversations from high level sellers who are actually doing it. Highly recommend that event as well in New York. So check out their booth and meet Liz in person at both of those. And in January, hopefully Camp Ecom again. I expect to see you guys there again.
Definitely wouldn't miss it, Brandon.
All right. Great to see you. And thank you for joining me today.
Yeah. Thanks, Brandon. Take it easy, everyone.